minutes run the meeting before. Maybe she could do it again.
I don't mind doing so.
Mayor McMorrin, just doing a sound check. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sort of.
Kind of.
Scratchy.
What you said? Was I not clear?
You're better now.
Okay, awesome.
It's running a little bit late. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Consensus in the room was for Jessica to kick us going, but maybe I'll get her. Do you want a hard copy, Councilor Dolly?
That would be lovely.
There's an extra.
Yeah. I'm like, I have it in here somewhere. So many tabs. Thank you very much.
Criminal Justice is having a meeting tomorrow, and I don't know if it's virtual or if it's in person. And it's been difficult to know where to go and what to do.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. It is 5:36 p.m. on Tuesday, February 25th. Inclusivity Committee meeting. Roll introductions. I'm Jessica Andrade.
Jane Sherwood, Diane Crocker,
Jenna Fisher,
Rose Bricker,
Alva Cederling,
Chris Workman. And online, I believe Mayor McMorrin is still there.
Yes, I am.
As we heard, Amanda is running a little late, so I'm just gonna kind of walk us through things. On the agenda, we'll be talking about minutes, any sort of urgent business, and then we'll talk about Women's History Month, Senior Citizens Month, reviewing some municipal code language about establishing the Inclusivity Committee as a permanent committee instead of an ad hoc committee, an update on community meal, and AARP age-friendly communities update. So looking at the minutes, is there anything on here that needs to be edited or changed? I guess that's the same word. If there's no, nice. I know. This is amazing. If there's no objections, then we shall pass with consensus. I know words. Cool beans. Does anyone have any urgent business that's not on the agenda that we'll be talking about at some point?
The Philomath Fellowship has their first gathering this Thursday at the museum. All Philomath residents are welcome. To anyone in Benton County who wants to come and chat. We're mostly going to be talking about kind of structure and what this is going to look like, and then one person will do a share, and then we'll have some treats and snacks afterwards.
I have a question. Clearly you're on this committee, but is it a inclusivity committee, or is it from somewhere else?
So it's not hosted by the Inclusivity Committee, although I think its origin definitely has some deep roots in it. And the Philomath Pride Collective met this weekend, and some feedback. I think that yourself and I'm not sure someone else also gave some feedback that may be an element. And so Philomath Pride is kind of stepping back from Philomath Fellowship, and we're creating our own kind of entity. So Philomath Fellowship is going to turn into a community entity, just like Philomath Pride is.
To make it clear that it's not solely a space for people from the queer community, right? Because that could be a misperception that people have.
Right. I never associated it with anything, because I didn't really know where it came from, so.
And then it's also in partnership with the Benton County Historical Society, and they're the ones really supporting and making it happen.
What was the start time again?
6 to 8. With museum. Upstairs in the Moorland room.
Along those lines, I was not able to afford the tickets or even go because I had a meeting for the thing that they had. It was a fundraiser for $45. You know. There are other ways that we can still go to the museum, or are there other ways?
You're talking about the benefit that they had, yes. They just celebrated their 50-year anniversary, I believe.
Yeah.
The ways that I've been communicating with, not only monetary donations, but they're always looking for volunteers to either help with the like kids activities that they do every, maybe it's not every Saturday, but it's pretty consistent Saturdays. And then also like stuff like working the front desk, welcoming people, and then another option that they have available to the public is helping with heavy lifting of items. Or if you got a truck, they're always looking for volunteers to help move things.
Okay, yeah, I would just think in thanks to them for hosting the Black History event, and then any other events that they might end up hosting. It'd be nice if we could give back somehow as a group. I don't know how that would look other than regular volunteering, and we would help clean or move stuff one day or for a couple of hours, something like that.
Also help promoting their events as much as possible, word of mouth. That's definitely a big help for them. I think Jessica Hogan would be the contact.
And on that note, actually, I see that we don't have a recap kind of update about the Black History Month event, so I don't know if we want to talk about that. I was really sad I couldn't go, but I think that could probably be. Hello. I know you. We are welcoming Amanda Polly and Jen Amador. Yes.
Jenna, oh yeah, I remember.
So far, we have approved the minutes. We talked about Philomath Fellowship being Thursday. And then how to help the museum just in general. And then we saw we didn't have a Black History Month event to kind of recap. So figured that we should probably talk about that first.
Yes.
Oh, I have another question regarding the fellowship. Is there a flyer? How is
There is a
going
flyer.
to-
I meant to email it and I did not, but I will. I hesitated to share that flyer just because they want to set up a secondary date with the museum, which we haven't determined yet. So I'd love to put that on the flyer as well. I'm waiting to hear back from my contact with the museum. So there is a flyer. I can send it to you, but it will be edited with the, can't make this one, come to this next one, whichever date is chosen.
Hi guys.
Hi. Welcome.
Thanks. It has been a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black History Month event.
Yeah. So I had a note under the urgent business just to talk about it and see how it went. I also, where did it go? So just kind of a general recap from my notes, and then we can talk about it. Rose did a kind of informal head count. We had over 60 people at the event. We had a lot of folks from the Inclusivity Committee show up and support, which was super exciting. And one of the things I found pretty exciting was that, you know, we as the Inclusivity Committee kind of talked about what we wanted to see out of the event. Something more focused on women. And so Oregon Black Pioneers basically crafted this talk specifically for us based on what we wanted. And then it was his first time giving that talk. And so now they have that and can use it in other places. I thought it was really informative stuff I didn't know. It was nice to learn about that local history. There is a recording I have it on my phone. There has been some technical snafus with it, but it does exist, and it is coming yours and Crystal's way by the end of the week at the very latest, so that can go on the city's YouTube page so that we can share that out.
I was impressed with the speaker. I thought he did a wonderful job, and I loved seeing the Inclusivity Committee. Everybody was going and getting extra chairs because we needed extra chairs, which is a very good thing. And the desserts were wonderful, and I thought it went really well. We ran out of flyers.
Yeah.
We had no idea. We had a pretty good turnout, so that was good.
I think one of the notes I had as kind of a for next time, I know we talked about it as a committee for events, but it wasn't until we were about halfway through. I was like, this is really great. I wonder what other people are thinking about it. Oh, we don't have a way to collect feedback. So one of the things we can work on ahead of our next event, whatever that may be, is a way to collect that kind of feedback, probably both in like a digital format and a physical sort of, so that we can start using that to
Would it be
plan events.
weird if we, completely voluntary, of course, but if people wanted to hear more about some of our events, they gave us their email, and then we could send out a request for feedback or something through that. I don't know if that's cool. I mean, as long as we weren't forcing anybody, I think would be okay maybe. But
We have on the city's website, there's an option to get Inclusivity Committee emails. So it would be perfect, basically.
It would also be good to have more like inclusivity information. Like I know we had at Pride last year, the little flyers about Inclusivity Committee, and having that available so people know the origin of where the planning's coming from.
you can come visit and.
Right.
Yeah, and Christopher did do a plug for Inclusivity Committee. I think I can't remember if it was at the beginning or the end, but kind of mentioned when the meetings were and how folks could join us if they were interested. So we had that as well. But I remember actually that's how I joined, was getting one of those flyers. So they work.
I appreciated the card that you brought too, and that we opened it up to the community. People who had any attendee wanted to sign the card, and a lot of people signed it. So I thought that was a nice touch.
Did he get snowed in? Did he give his speech the next night?
OSU closed, so my guess is probably not.
Canceled.
Done. Corvallis.
Got to enjoy Corvallis for another day.
We didn't report back yet. Councilor Crocker and I had lunch with them. Chelsea joined us as well, and we just did Vinwood, and it was great. Got to talk, spent just about a solid hour. Talked through mostly his travels, though, his experience, his background. Just got to know him a little bit better. Offered to tool around or whatever else, but he's like, I gotta go back to the hotel and get some work done. So he was working while he was here as well, and said he really liked to prep right before as well and go through everything. But I think he appreciated getting lunch on the city and just getting to know us a little bit better. So it was a nice exchange with him.
He grew up in Virginia, is that right? And then came out to University of Washington. That's what brought him to the Northwest, and he really liked it, and he loves Astoria.
Didn't know anything about Oregon, Washington, just came. Didn't know anybody here, just got accepted to school and going west.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other thoughts or things they want to share about the event?
I thought it was an excellent event. I would love to see us maybe each year add another one, like women's history or Hispanic history or Native American. I mean, we did have a speaker for that, but I think building on that, doing similar things would be really, really nice. So it became a thing to go to, every 3 months or so. Yeah.
Awesome.
In our calendar where we do like, we're doing a social media post, we're doing a proclamation, that ends 2026, right? So we'd be looking at maybe adjusting some of the event day or month, if we're actually doing an event. I would appreciate rotating it around too.
Yeah.
For coverage.
I also think that's a great idea. Spread the love across the community. All right. Do we have any other urgent business that's not on the agenda that you want to touch on before we?
Diane, are you still looking for volunteers for the food drive?
Sure. We are.
Looking for signups?
Um,
I got my bag on my door. This
Perfect,
Saturday.
perfect.
Yeah.
You meet
Go.
here at 9 o'clock Saturday if you want to go help pick up the food.
Okay.
And we've got a huge crew already at the sorting station, so we don't need anybody there, but going out picking up bags.
Pick up as I need. This Saturday?
Saturday at 9. Probably less than 2 hours, and it's not supposed to rain right now. If you trust the forecast, I'm very happy.
Well, I don't know if it's urgent, but before you arrive, Diane was talking about our visit to the community meal because she mentioned.
I'm concerned about possible citizens in our community being afraid to go to public places, and I think the letter that the mayor and the police chief put out was very nice, and from what I can see, it's been well received. I saw one person try to lecture about following laws or something like that. I don't know, but that was the only negative I saw. Everything else seemed very supportive.
And we have the update on the community meal on the.
Oh, good, yes, okay, then I'll be back, yeah.
Yeah, we can touch on that. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. So we can jump right in so we can get to that. First item on our agenda is the Women's History Month. We have the proclamation and the social media post in the packet. We discussed last time that this is the same proclamation as the year before, just
Change the dates.
yeah, change the dates. This is great. And then I remembered.
The last therefore has 2024 still.
Yeah, I actually just noticed that.
And I think I messed up when I wrote this because I don't think I need the actual correct image of our banner because I have this now in my thing. And so I meant to, keep it consistent for recognition. So I need to move one of these to this instead of this one. I wish I was a little more technologically gifted, but I'm not.
Wonder if it's worth. I mean, it's hard to know because it's Women's History Month, and there is talk about the right to vote, at least in the. Actually, let me think about this real quick.
Where is this going to be? Is this for social media or for?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, did we want to talk about the both at the same time, or one or the other first?
Well, the proclamation is the first thing in the packet. But it's not on the agenda as an item. So I'm happy with whatever everybody order makes people happy. If it's easier to go in order of what's in the packet, we can start with the proclamation and then do the social media post, but
excuse myself for another engagement.
Have fun.
Carry on.
Okay.
Somebody wants us to end at the end of the meeting, and then I'll be back later tonight to shut everything else down.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Good luck to your kiddo.
The door's locked, just close it behind you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a good rest.
Have fun.
Mission first?
Yeah, let's do it. First thing there.
One thing that stands out to me is that the theme, is it echoing in here? Are you guys hearing an echo, or is that just my ears? Moving forward together, women educating and inspiring generations. I not seeing like a call out of education. Either women and women identified people furthering their education, and also teachers, caregivers.
Whereas?
It's not here.
Oh.
That's what's missing. That's what I'm noticing.
Oh, what's missing?
Well, the theme for 2025 is moving forward together, women educating and inspiring generations. And that to me deserves a call out of education. And I'm not seeing any whereases that hit that. Although recognizing this may be a little bit too late to change, so okay.
I'm glad that it mentions it in the title. That's something.
Yep.
And,
I'm sorry, I didn't follow. You mean like you don't see that theme
Mhm.
in somewhere else, or?
Yeah, it's not mentioned inside the
Right, yeah.
proclamation about either women educating themselves
Yes.
or women as educators.
Mm-hmm.
typically, historically, it was women that were educators. And while that's something to be celebrated, that was one of the few jobs that was acceptable for a woman before she got married, of course, to have. And once she got married, they said you couldn't do that anymore. Or had a child, for goodness sakes, So there were still, through that, some pretty bad discriminations happening.
I would assume the stats of today are probably more female or female oriented.
Yeah, teaching is definitely a job.
Right?
Yeah.
Teaching and nursing. Those are the
Yes,
classic ones.
still, yes.
I wonder if somewhere between, like if we were to put a whereas, somewhere between the one on line 30 and the one on line 33, because it says whereas women at Philomath have been leaders fighting for freedom and justice, and then the next one is have been and continue to be an economic, cultural, and social strength. And so I wonder if education could fit in there. It could specifically be called out as an example within that economic, cultural, and social strength, including, but I don't know. Rose, I agree that that's like makes sense to add something relating to education and stuff, but as to like what specifically to say, I'm not quite sure. If anyone has any.
I've got a pretty lame one, but whereas women of Philomath continue to be economic, cultural, social strength who work together to build and teach a strong community and future, or something like that. That's a pretty lame, minor recognition, but because women have taught, some women learn that they can do whatever they want, and that's a good thing.
I mean, I think that we could put something in there somewhere about, because the education piece as a profession and like educating the general public, but also either women educating the community on the struggles that they're facing, or like their history, or like that kind of outward education, and other people educating each other on how to support women or ways women have contributed to society. So not necessarily, like, I feel like that could be part of this in kind of a broad way, like this proclamation itself is like an education tool.
Fostering a
Yeah,
sense of
it's-
education in the community, not necessarily directly educating.
Yeah. Just sort of the,
Because it was an acceptable one. I mean, I almost see it as again, discriminatory because those were one of the 2 jobs that women could have, supposedly. And it's, you know, it's never, I don't know that it's ever been really true, but yeah, that's the way it was looked upon.
Well, specifically for white women, yes.
Yeah.
I was about to say, if you weren't white, there were always jobs in service, which were not. Yeah.
But teaching through that though too, you could count that you're teaching the next generation how to do those same jobs, maybe.
Absolutely. I think the point that I was trying to raise specifically is what you were talking about is the historical narrative that surrounds white women. And since it is Black History Month, it feels a little bit more appropriate to maybe look at this and go, okay, yes, there is this mythos about how teaching was the only example for women, but that was not and never has been true, at least not for like women of color.
Some women.
Yeah. I like the idea of highlighting education because it is mentioned in the title. I think one of the things that we have to think about as well is like, how much do we just learn from the women in our lives, like our mothers and our grandmothers, and, you know, passing down generational knowledge as well. So it doesn't even have to be like formal education or like talking about women as educators, like, oh, teaching, blah, blah, blah. It could be something as simple as like, you know, as being part of the community, passing down knowledge, recognizing like the role that we have in our families and with our neighbors. So I don't think it needs to fit into the economic piece necessarily, but I do like the idea of getting it in there.
I agree with that. The teaching neighbors and the women with, you know, supporting each other and grandmas, the moms, the neighbors, the community all being part of that education.
Community,
The whole
yeah.
community.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was kind of trying to say is that
Yeah,
no matter what our job was, we taught the next generation whatever our job was. And
Absolutely.
that's
No,
important.
it is and the verb that you want to use because
Yeah.
teaching refers mainly to formal education.
But
I think in
should-
the broad sense, like passing knowledge.
I think facilitating might be more of the, like, facilitating, fostering that kind of environment, but as for like what specifically to say besides that.
This is stolen from the internet, it's not from my brain. In the field of education, women have played a crucial role in shaping the minds of future generations.
Well, shaping
So
minds.
taking, whereas women have played a crucial role in the shaping of the minds of future generations, period, or through education.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be formal education. I think we've done it teaching youth or anybody, you know, as a mentor.
Yeah, and like doing things like organizing volunteer events, participating in church and other community outreach. Like it doesn't have to be a formal setting, right?
Okay, adding like through the community at the end of that or something like that.
Start saying a sentence, please, and I'll type it out.
I got this.
Yes.
Throughout the community.
Though it mentions education, it talks about inspiring generations. It doesn't need to be through formal education to do that. You do that with your daughters or your
I think
nieces.
I think it's highlighted in a separate whereas clause.
Facilitating and passing down knowledge both formally and informally. I don't know.
Just to at least get it typed down. Okay, so what we're starting from, unless someone has something else to start from, whereas women of Philomath have been facilitating and passing down knowledge formally and informally throughout generations. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I forgot the throughout generations part. I had suggested between the whereas at 30 and the
I
whereas
like
at
it
33.
between. I think it
Whereas.
ties all 3 of those together.
Yeah, I think it fits there probably best.
I went into teaching band. Before I was a teacher in band, it was a very heavily male position. I had never met a female band director, and so it was a new thing for me to just reach out and try something that was male dominated big time. I was out of college before I first met another female band director, so it was
Oh yeah, conducting
a little
and
weird.
anything to do with professional music, like up until about the 1980s, was very much like 90-10 men to women.
Yes, at least, yeah.
So, okay, I'm gonna read it one more time because it's only in the past tense at the moment. Whereas women of Philomath have been facilitating and passing down knowledge formally and informally throughout generations. Do we need to say also, and continue to do so?
And continue to shape the minds of future generations. Or no, wait, that's too many generations.
Very good. Or do we like it just the way it is because we have been doing this, there's no implication that we've stopped.
And in 39, women are making history every day and will continue to do so in ways that will change our community and country for the better. So that seems to indicate the future.
I like it.
Cool. So we're all good with that? No objections?
Can you read it one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, no, don't be sorry. Whereas women of Philomath have been facilitating and passing down knowledge formally and informally throughout generations.
Yeah, I like that.
Thanks, Jen.
Cool. So we'll add that, and then we'll also update the. Therefore, be it resolved, the date needs to be updated to 2025.
You add and at the end.
What was that?
End? At the end.
At the end of
Yeah.
your whereas.
Semicolon.
Is there anything else on that, or are we? I think that's it.
Sounds good, yeah. Thanks for catching I didn't realize we'd updated or added the piece with the new theme.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was a theme, so that's exciting. Goal of that is to get that updated and hopefully have that read at the next council meeting in March. Yes.
Just on that note, Counselor Crocker, Counselor Andrade, does one of you want to be the one to read it?
I will not be there, so it would have to be Councilor Andrade.
Yeah, I can do it.
Great point. Okay, cool. We'll just plan on that then.
Sounds good.
And then that moves us on to social media posts for Women's History Month. So Diane, you said you want to just switch out the artwork for that?
Yes,
And not
because,
the banner.
yes. So that when they see the banner, they will associate it to the social media post if they're paying attention to the social media post.
Which of course they will be.
Of course they will.
Do you have the file that you want to use?
I must. I submitted it in the first place, it's somewhere.
It's on the city's website, like the banners have been updated on
Oh,
the city's
yeah.
website, so I'm sure Crystal has it.
Okay. The graphic artist sent it to me, I just would have to search where it is.
That's really good.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, trying to find stuff after you saved it.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's like,
Yep.
okay.
So, for the post, I wonder, what I was starting to say earlier, like, it talks about, like, now that women have the right to vote, among other things. I wonder, because there has been some national talk about, potential laws that would potentially not allow certain women to vote who don't have the same last name, like with their birth certificate and stuff. I wonder if we should add something about, I don't know, actively trying to combat that, or like, I don't know if it's like an awareness thing and also a like, we're still under attack of like, threat of having our rights taken away.
Yeah, I mean, to be really clear, it's not just trans women that are being
Yeah.
targeted by this. There
No.
is
Exactly.
a fringe movement, but still a movement to completely eliminate women's right to vote.
Yeah.
Because if you've changed your name from your maiden name, if you did that, I would lose my right to vote because I don't have the same name
Yeah.
as I was born with,
Yeah, and there's just
which is dumb.
there's a lot of men on the far right that seem to think that the fact that women don't tend to vote for the leaders that they would like to see means that we shouldn't be allowed to
Yep.
vote, which is fascinating to me, but okay.
I think adding on at the end, like we continue to fight for
For the rights of all women.
rights
Yeah.
of all women, yeah,
I like that.
because it's not done yet.
Yeah. And saying that we're fighting for the rights of all women too is nice. In like the mayor's statement about like standing with all community members and how everyone, deserves protection through law, blah, 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 because it's not just, hey, we're calling out this specific group. We are saying, if you are in Philomath and you identify as a woman, like we are fighting for your rights.
How do we put that in?
Despite these,
I mean, I assume that I need to resubmit it, or do you?
Or I can write it down. I
Okay,
don't
that's cool.
mind sending that in.
I don't mind, giving
Or-
you that right.
I type fast and loud, so I can just do it right.
Fast and loud, it's fine with me.
So you said,
despite these successes, although I don't like that word, we continue to work towards.
We continue to champion the rights of all women.
And there is a statement here, these strong women are continuing to lay the groundwork for women's rights and continue, and that would be maybe a good spot to put that in, I don't know.
And will continue to do so into the future.
Yep, something like that.
Yeah.
The second to the last sentence, does the W in women's, should that be capitalized?
The one that is capitalized.
Oh, yeah.
that's, should, lowercase. You're saying?
Sorry. And there might be a typo there too. By the year 2022, every state in the union has a woman.
Yes.
Woman, yes, rather than plural, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm appalled that it took until 2022 for that to happen. That shocked me. But even during my life, in the 1970s, women couldn't have their own credit card.
Yeah, not unless you were.
They couldn't do anything. They
No
couldn't
bank
own
accounts.
anything without their husband's approval or whatever. It's ridiculous, and I just.
My mom got divorced in 1975 because her first husband was horrible, and trying to handle anything was apparently terrible. So she's like, just be grateful. And then she told me, if you're not sure if you're going to stay married, don't get married. I was like, okay, thanks, Mom.
Try to have a optimistic view, but yes.
I mean, I feel like it's 90-10 odds, so we're gonna stay married, but okay.
So this is what I have for changes. So by the year 2022, every state in the union had sent a woman singular to Congress. These strong women are continuing to lay the groundwork for women's lowercase w rights and will continue to do so in the future. Was that what we said?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. And then we owe them a debt of gratitude and take the month of March to highlight this annually. Or is it despite these successes that would be next? Anyway, the next sentence was, despite these successes, we continue to champion the rights of all women. And so my question is that the last sentence or the
Despite
second to
these
last?
successes, we recognize the fight is not over, because otherwise it feels really weird.
Despite all of
This fight is not over. So is that the last sentence?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And now I'm gonna read the last sentences again. Besides the scrivener's corrections, these strong women are continuing to lay the groundwork for women's rights and will continue to do so in the future. We owe them a debt of gratitude and take the month of March to highlight this annually. Despite these successes, we recognize this fight is not over.
Was that all one clause?
It's a social media post.
Oh, look at that. This whole time I thought we were on the proclamation. Never mind.
You're over there like, what are they doing?
Basically,
We have the proclamation.
Like, I haven't heard in minutes.
And you will just ask Crystal to fix the visual. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Shoot, one less thing. This way.
I really appreciate the post.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting that together.
Well, I went home after last meeting last month and wrote both of these, and I can't guarantee the senior one is all that good because it was 11:30 or something after. That's a long meeting. I wanted to get them done because I had said that I would do them and I had to get them done. So appreciate it.
Well, if everyone approves of the Women's History one, we can approve go over the, well, that's for August. I guess we could do it now.
As a time check, it is 6:17 in case, I don't know what
What
your,
time do you have to get out of here?
I actually can wait till the end.
Okay.
It was more of a, in case you think we might need more time for other topics. I don't know what you have in mind.
Okay. Well, so that is for August. Do we want to, if we have time at the end, we can go over that?
Yeah, there's not as much history on this because while it has been named as a day in some places and a month in other places, and I think as Philomath, we can name it as a month if we
Yeah.
want.
I think
It's celebrated in Mexico as well in the same month.
Good.
Grandparents Month.
Yeah. I think that aligns with our goal to do the age-friendly stuff in August and have those events. I mean, obviously, we'd work on that.
Or June or July.
Yeah.
That's fine. I just.
So we'll just bump that down.
Yep.
And so the next item on the agenda is the review of the municipal code language that we're just still working on. And that is in the packet, along with some questions to consider.
Christine, would you like me to kind of review, or did you want to start? Go ahead. Okay. Sorry. I didn't realize, I was like, we didn't talk about how we're gonna do this. Besides the fact, we kind of figured it made the most sense to, well, first of all, as a recap, in order to make the Inclusivity Committee a permanent committee instead of an ad hoc committee, it makes sense to have language in the municipal code that outlines how outlines the fact that it is a committee, and then also any sort of basic rules of how it functions. And so we figured it made the most sense to start with the municipal code language, and as Christopher had said at our last meeting to have it more generalized, and then we have more detailed policy type, not policy, but like, you know, procedural documents in like a separate handbook. And so we started with the municipal code part, and we're hoping to get that kind of figured out. And then once we have that figured out, like what things we want to include in the municipal code language, what's important enough to make sure that it does not change as frequently because the procedural stuff can change. It's more flexible, whereas the municipal code is a bit more set in stone. It's harder to change. And so it can be changed, but it's harder. So yeah, just kind of starting from that point and moving on to procedural stuff later. And so some of the questions we were talking about was, one of them is we've been calling ourselves the Inclusivity Committee since it's been established, but we had a mission and goals document that I hyperlinked on there. I didn't include it because it's another thing to print out. But we had called it the Equity and Inclusion Committee with the subtitle of Striving for a More Diverse and Just Philomath. And so one of the questions is like, well, what do we really actually want to call ourselves? And then basically, are there additional details needed or concepts that can be streamlined or deleted? And just, I think that's it on my part. Oh, and we looked at the code for the other committees, which is why it's outlined the way it is, and plagiarized, because, you know, that's how it works. And plagiarizing government.
It's just borrowing it from the same bucket, essentially.
Yeah.
Is this the right time to say something? This establishment right here, when it's talking about our task, is to support the city leadership in fostering inclusive, just, and equitable community. It feels like we are just asking the city leadership to do that, and I think we should be asking the entire city to do that, not just pulling out the leadership. I don't know if that bothers anybody else, and if it doesn't, then I'm fine. But it does seem like all this is saying is we're helping the city to learn, the city leadership to learn, rather than every, yeah.
I'll just note that that came from our mission and goals document, and that pretty much everything was taken from these documents that we already. But I appreciate that, and that's where it was coming from.
Yes, yeah, no, I figured it was, and
But it's probably both, not or.
yeah, correct.
Expanded.
But is it difficult to change that at this point?
Oh, no,
Okay,
not at all.
not
This is
requiring
the time to change.
This is not requiring a vote or anything.
No,
to
this was
change things.
very much this is the context, so if we're gonna change it, we do need to decide.
Yeah, the idea is that we can make as many changes now so that we then give it to council and they can.
Approve it.
Yeah.
Then vote.
I was just trying to provide context of like, this is something we had agreed upon, and I swear I'm not trying to push it on you.
Few documents, I think. Well, we even just check out supporting city leadership, but tasked with fostering an inclusive, just, and equitable community that honors its past. I like that. If we just took out the supporting city leadership, it feels like it's for everybody.
I like the call out of city leadership, because I think that was like when the inclusivity committee was first created, that was the emphasis, was working with city leadership. But now it's turned into, we're doing community events, we're doing outreach. I think, and instead of an or, I think it should be an and.
That's where I was at.
Also tasked with sharing with the community. Write this down because I'm just spitballing.
Yeah.
The word supporting Christopher in his leadership role to become inclusive and
Fostering an inclusive.
But yeah, even like the city and its leadership, I think. And Yeah,
Much easier,
Yeah.
the city and its leadership.
because then it's
Everybody.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
I did write some notes about the name, because it was really the only thing that I had major opinions on. And I think maybe you said this in the last meeting, or somebody did. But I like the idea of the Equity and Inclusivity Committee, like, as a vibe. But I think, like, we've kind of branded ourselves in town as the Inclusivity Committee, and I think you even specifically said if we added a word to it, people might think we're doing something different than, but we've always been doing equity work, it's just not necessarily in the name, and I think it might detract or
Yeah,
cause kerfuffle
I
where
agree with you.
kerfuffle doesn't need to happen.
I was about to say, as somebody who is newer to this, like I've only ever heard about it as the Inclusivity Committee. So for me, it's kind of like, oh, I didn't realize it might have had a different name at some point in the past. Like,
Yeah.
no, your branding is pretty spot on.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need to change it.
Yeah, I would echo that. Just I think it will have a. I would like to present this to the city council as just more like a rubber stamp. Like, hey, you know that committee we've had since like 2021? Can't we just put it in the municipal code? Okay, thanks everyone. And I just worry that any sort of change to like the name or the structure or anything will like cause it to be reviewed in maybe a way that would be well. And I would like for things to just kind of keep going well, and kind of keep under the radar of too much say scrutiny. Things always deserve to be scrutinized, but just like too much controversy or like I think
One of the things I think we have to recognize right now as well is that equity in particular is a hot button word. People don't seem to understand what it means, but they're definitely angry about it. So if we stick with inclusivity, which has already been established, which we have good branding around, we maybe won't get angry community members coming and banging down city council meeting.
You're down.
We're killing it.
like
Thoughts?
Diane has something to say.
No, I'm shocked and a little bit upset that we have one male in the room. And are you feeling underserved?
Well,
I
no,
don't
was
know. I mean, it's-
listening to all the stuff about Women's History Month. I was like, well, we have a good group here for that discussion.
But I think we need to try to recruit some male members of our committee because that's a different perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not, but I feel like we're,
I wonder if we worry about the
Discriminating.
numbers of men versus women on things like the budget committee or the police committee. I do feel like it is a bit odd that we suddenly focus on it because this is very much volunteer driven, correct? Everybody is here because they want to be here.
the police committee is all women too, but just to let you know.
Not anymore.
It was, yeah.
And I will say, when I appoint the committees, I do try to not have it all be one. There's one, I think Public Works is all men, but that's just because of the way people requested it. But we do think about it.
I mean, and my point is mostly like, is this a question that comes up in other committees? It sounds like it does, at least for you, which is great. And two, like, who is really self-selecting, correct? Like,
Right.
is it all of your thing? So
That was the case with Public Works. Was just I didn't want to like not give it to someone that really wanted it and give it to someone that didn't want it just for the sake of like now we have a woman on it.
Tokenizing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Cool. So thoughts on things like, are there things that is like that are too much, too detailed? I feel like that might be a you question mainly, Christopher. Since since you're more familiar with municipal code language.
I know. I checked on there. It's
Oh, you want this?
no, it's okay. I can look on here.
But then also, like I said, and things that are important that we don't have included in here. These sections, like I said, were mainly taken from other city committee municipal code language. And if you don't know, if you're interested in learning more about the municipal code language, there's a section on the city's website that you can, it takes you to municipal code, and they're in the second, it's in the second chapter. And I think this one was mainly based off of the Parks Advisory Board and third, yeah, anyway. Of an amalgamation of it all.
The only thing I was thinking, we had a discussion, I think, at the last meeting about the chair being like 6 months, or what did we do? Because I think it still says a year.
It does say.
Know what it was.
I seem to recall that in the thing we were actually talking about possibly making it longer instead of having it be 3 months, and I think a year was kind of what we left it as a hand wave of.
Oh, because like after 3 months, you are just getting your.
Just getting the hang of it.
Maybe
Yeah.
I remember that one.
I think it was the
Okay.
opposite.
Okay. Look at that.
But then there was mention of like if someone's doing it for a year, but someone else wants to do it, like is. Yeah, we did bring up coach. I mean, today would have been a great day for a co-chair because I was 11 minutes late.
We covered it. It was my free job.
But
when you texted me like 7 minutes before the meeting,
know.
you're like, I'm just leaving now.
I'm
like,
so optimistic.
I know.
Maybe everything's gonna go really well and there will be 1,000 cars coming up on campus.
I texted you saying, I might be a minute or two late.
It's like, it's the theme. But yeah, I think but if we put it in the municipal code as a set length of time, that's not something we can change internally. If for some reason we decide a year is too long or 6 months is too short or
Right.
like, so it'd be something that we would have to determine ahead of time.
Unless, like, so I see a year being like standard. And then if circumstances happen like you can't do it anymore, well then like you have to fill
guess
that
that's
position.
true.
Like so I think if anything it's kind of more of a for it being like rules or whatever for the committee to follow, it's also like understandable if things aren't like don't work out the way that they do. Like there are vacancies. There are
Yeah.
And on that note then is do we need to put anything about like if an officer steps down or something, or are we good? Because I didn't see anything about that in any of the other committee.
No.
Yeah.
Like appointment process.
Also, I couldn't remember if the council or if you as mayor appoint people, so I just said council for now because
I mean, it varies by, I think,
there's
like the default is that the mayor appoints committee members with confirmation of the council. But if it specifically states for a committee that it's appointed by a majority of the council, that's one thing that I wish we could clean up a little bit.
I
Like
know,
just
right?
do one or the other, but
agreed.
yeah.
Is there like a logistical reason there are some that the mayor approves versus, or is it just because wonky language?
I think it's basically because of what we're doing now. We're like, as each committee
Right.
added over time, they're like, oh, let's have the mayor appoint it. And then 10 years later, they created a new committee. And they're like, we think it'd be better if the whole council decided this together. And then 20 years later, they added another committee. And they're like, yeah, just let the mayor do it. And then, so then it's like, you kind of like have this weird, like, I'm responsible for like 3 committees and the council's responsible for, 4 other committees. But then I appoint the council. And it's just, and at the end of the day, the council still has to approve that. Like, it's not like I can just go out here and pick people. So it doesn't, it's more like I think it just kind of helps like streamline things of like, here's someone, what do you think? As opposed to like, here are 5 people, discuss.
Mhm.
You know, I just feel like that's sometimes how we get off the rails a little bit. But yeah. Yes.
Is it not true that the mayor chooses the council members that are on it, but the city council chooses the community members?
That's how it's been right now, yeah.
Does
Right,
that not changing that?
right, yeah, yeah,
So that's a big difference, is whether you're on city council or you're a community member, I think.
yeah, yeah.
On that note, does that need to be designated?
I think if you say chosen or appointed by the council,
Because the council approves your,
well, I think we would read that as it would be more of like the budget committee or something, where the council sees all the applicants and then talks about them.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the Parks Board or something where the mayor is like, this person, yes or no, kind of thing.
But the budget committee is the whole city council, right? And
Right.
they don't choose a president until after they meet as a budget committee,
Right,
whereas any other group isn't the same, because the whole council isn't.
I just meant how we pick
Yeah.
the like resident members of the budget committee.
Is
Where
the
the whole,
whole application.
right, but I mean, where the whole council chooses that together as opposed to like I don't show up being like, here's who I want on the budget committee, approve it. Anyway, point is, I think the way this is written right now is, I think it would just continue the same way we've done things. Maybe that's a conversation for the council at a later time if we
Yeah.
want to like standardize things one way or another, but
For
I think
sure.
it's fine for now. Yeah.
So I know one of the bigger questions that I had was like the duties part and whether or not we actually needed, like, I feel like we kind of have to list, here, you can, if you want, you can just look at it here. I think it's easier. Don't mind my notes. But yeah, because we have the goals and, the values and how we practice them document. Can't remember the exact name we call it. But I believe the Park Advisory Board has examples of duties. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll try to like turn some of those goals and principles and practice into examples, since the Park Advisory Board had just updated their municipal code language. And so I was like, well, I guess we should have that too. So I don't know if they're worded well, if they should be more generalized, if there's any other examples we want to include.
This could work. I think you could also just not even have the whole section, because I think
That's what I thought, but
I mean, so
the
it's not-
Park Advisory
right,
Board has it.
right,
so.
right. Although I also know, I feel like with the Park Advisory Board, I feel like we frequently have to go in there and like tweak it. Like I feel like every time, like, I feel
Yeah.
like we've done that a couple times of like, yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't think it matters too much from our end. Do people have strong feelings about that?
You'd scratch the word duties and leave everything else. It's duties.
That's true.
Is the
Just
whole
say
term.
this, well, yeah. I think because I feel like part of it is it's covered already a little bit in establishment, tasked with supporting the city and its leadership, or however we phrase that, in fostering an inclusive, just, and equitable community, which I feel like reads very similar to this Inclusivity Committee shall advise City Council and management regarding matters of inclusion, equity,
It'd be safer to just delete the section.
Yeah.
I think so.
And I think if we wanted to have this like as a transparent sort of like, if anybody's interested, just generally as a public, like community member, like what we're doing, this could be on, if it's not already on our Inclusivity Committee page.
It's on the page.
Yeah, so I think that would be the only reason I would want it there, just as an idea of what we do, but that already exists, so I don't.
I feel like we should have more like recognizing the individuals in the community as well. If it's truly inclusive, it should be just about celebrating, cultures and diversity, but also every individual in the city, right?
Citizen contributes to the community of.
If it's truly inclusive.
Well, the previous version, the Equity and Inclusion Committee Objectives in Practice had this identify and remove systemic barriers and challenges for communities. And I think that maybe identify these barriers or this vulnerability within the community, something that refers to specifically identify where there's a situation that prevents us for people to feel part of the community, I guess.
Are you suggesting that go in the municipal code language? Because I think the fact that, like, because we will have that unless the committee decides to remove that, but I'm pretty sure that goes against what the committee wants. Like, we'll have that in our procedural documents and stuff like that. So, like, the main question is, how important is it to put into the municipal code language? And like for the sake of the protection of the committee, but also like not wanting to, you know, make it seem like we're trying to stir up trouble or something. You know what I mean? Like, for lack of a better descriptor, what we were talking about before. So.
Also, if the advice is that we're supposed to be vague with this, this feels very detailed. We're going down the road of detailing.
I mean, and I guess, I don't know if you should be like vague, but more just like think about like, what is like the absolute bare minimum like skeleton for the committee to operate? That's what should go in the municipal code. And I feel like for me, that's like sort of the mission statement.
Covered in the establishment.
Who the membership is, how they get appointed, and like any, you know, I mean, that's kind of it, honestly. And then we can add, you know, I think it's fine to say like, oh, they select a chair and stuff, but like, I think that's all you need. It doesn't preclude you from adding more. It's more just like, just a cautionary thing. Like, you know, if 5 years from now the Inclusivity Committee wants to do something else that's not this, like, yeah, but.
The guts of it will be in a handbook manual kind of thing.
Yeah. The only other small thing is, could we put under?
No. Yes.
You're so right. Under committee operation, the Inclusivity Committee shall generally meet monthly.
That works. That's
yeah.
Thank you.
I don't want people to be afraid of like, you know, how we canceled it on Christmas Eve. I don't want people to be like, oh no, it says in the code we have to meet, you know, kind of thing.
I appreciate that. I couldn't figure out how to word that. It was late, and I was like, nope.
Like I think, or you know, people want to take 1 month off of it somewhere or something. Like, I don't think we can, you know, we don't need to be like, you know, legally we have to.
We're bound to meet monthly, guys.
Okay, cool. So the things I have heard are establishment section, change it to city and its leadership. The name remains Inclusivity Committee. If I heard correctly, there's no strong objections to deleting the duties section. And then committee operations shall generally meet monthly within Subcommittee. Anything else?
I was not here when this was all started, but like, are the attorneys fine with the wording of official committee members and unofficial committee members?
I don't know. Jim seemed to be cool with it.
Sure.
But we also didn't try putting it into the municipal code.
That's true.
So
okay.
I'm thinking that the next step would be to run it by the attorneys, and if we have to change some of it, it'll be in accordance with what the committee has already, like, we know what the committee intends.
We may need to change the words.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I actually.
I was gonna say similar to the subcommittee, like technically, we
It's
just
not
learned it's not a subcommittee, we're volunteers, we were not appointed as a subcommittee.
Be appointed and.
I was thinking Or even like
yeah.
appointed committee members and like community participants or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Because I'm not sure that the other committees invite the community to walk in and join.
They don't, right,
And so that's what makes us so different.
Yeah.
right,
But where the quorum,
right,
I think it needs to be with the official.
right.
I jotted down when I was kind of going through the agenda, I wrote down community members not appointed by city council are invited to attend meetings as participating members. I don't know if that, because that doesn't say official or unofficial, but it could be like the appointed members and then sort of like a sub.
The fact that we don't vote.
Yeah.
is different. I think every other committee votes.
Mhm.
And we don't, so.
Yeah.
We're nicer
I
than
guess-
some.
Just for the sake of time tonight, is the committee okay with like if we check with the city attorney and then it's just doing that as, I mean, we're not gonna change
Yeah.
the,
I mean,
like the,
If the intent doesn't change,
yeah. We just don't wanna run into a spot where like, because we're calling them committee members, and that creates legal issues if they
Right.
go out to drink afterwards and all talk to each other kind of thing, you know, like, anyway. Not that that would ever happen.
What's that?
But as city members, we're not supposed to
Right,
meet
right.
in groups of more than 3, and if we do,
Really?
it's a big deal.
I
Yeah,
mean, I can't invite you all to dinner.
yeah.
Well,
no.
that's the thing with the subcommittee too.
Gotta be
We
careful.
found out in our ethics training that if you appoint people to a subcommittee, then you can't actually meet
Cause it's
with
a
a,
separate
it's a
thing,
public
yeah.
meeting law violation.
Yeah,
So,
although, well, anyway.
So what do you call a
So-
group that's working together on a project?
we are volunteering to
Pals.
work together. We are not appointed by the committee. Exactly. Okay, cool.
I also noticed in there, they said that if it's a committee appointed to advise a single elected official.
Yes,
So if you're advising me,
that's right, that's right.
then it doesn't, whereas if you're advising the council as a whole, kind of thing.
Interesting, so 5 of us could
Remember
get
that word.
together and advise.
Well, not community. I think because the idea is, if you're advising me, I still have to get the rest of the council on board before I can do something, you know, whereas if you're advising the council, it's like, yeah. But anyway, we're getting in the So, okay, are people good with that then?
Thank you, everyone. And then we'll talk about, like I said, the guts of the matter at a later time. And if you have other thoughts, about kind of procedural things, let, Jane and myself know. Jane, if you're still interested in doing it with me. If not, then just me.
as pals.
As pals. Thank you.
Do you have any more thoughts or feelings about that?
I just time keeping it organized here.
Cool. All right. Gonna get an update on the community meal. We were talking about.
Well, the goal of going to the community, attending the community meal was to get a first-hand impression of this rumor that the Hispanic community was afraid to attend. And in my experience, that time when we met there was less people, less Hispanic people as far as I can tell since September, which was the first time I went there. And but I also attended in Corvallis a meeting that was prepared for Hispanic population by the health community services that work with the schools. So it was about 70 to 80 people, all Hispanic. The meeting was in Spanish, and they were related to the school. So most of them were women, and they were concerned mothers. And so I wanted to share this with you because I don't really know how that would transform into some sort of action. But what I observed is that people were very scared, and my concern is that they feel isolated from the white population or from the native population. I don't know how to put it, and I don't know how to encourage the community to keep communication open with the people that they know that has a Hispanic background or that moved recently in the area, and just talk to them and make them reassured. You know, I know schools do that, teachers do that, but I really don't know how could that be passed on. We were talking about like some kind of signs that you're welcome here or something like that, but I think that it requires also like personal connection. And so, yeah, that's what I want to hear.
And my concern started when I heard that fewer Hispanic people were coming to the meal, worried that they were, and I might be making a problem where there isn't one, afraid to go to the grocery store or afraid to go places to get stuff, and how are they faring without those resources? And is there stuff that we could do to help or not? I mean, we have to know what the problem is before we can help it, and yeah, so that was difficult, but it was a very nice meal and very nicely done, but I agree. I think, and I've been a few times before, and there were, what would you say? 3 maybe Hispanic people? I didn't even count. I didn't look around, but there weren't very many. And I think there were more before when I went. Too.
There's a immigrant legal resource center that has been providing these red cards.
I was literally about to bring up red
Really?
cards. Yep.
And you can print them online, so it's inexpensive and it would be an easy thing to distribute in the community.
What did they do?
They literally just outline what your legal rights are. If you are approached by ICE, if you're approached by the police, here's what you can do. They are in English and in Spanish. They are bright red. They're about the size of a business card, so they are pretty easy to hand out.
Or even just having them in a contain like a thing that you can stick to the pin boards of different areas around town that people could grab it.
And I think the idea that everyone has rights, you know, and that because you have a different background, you are your rights and being here, you know.
Yeah, if people aren't familiar with the red cards, they're written very broadly. It's like, if you are in the US, here is the right you have regardless of whether or not you are a citizen. Like the law applies to you even if you are not.
Yeah, that it's in the Constitution.
Have you heard the latest thing about a gold card? It's disgusting. If you pay, what is it, $2 million, you can get a gold card, and you don't have to be a citizen. You can come in and they're going to help your way to citizenship by paying money, and it's just.
Is that a proposal or it's happening?
This is what the President of the United States has said.
He's been saying a lot.
I know that. But that's concerning that he thinks you can buy your way in, and
Well,
it's not
the paperwork for a green card is not inexpensive, so
Yeah,
kind of already happening.
yes.
how H1.
Why it's called green.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's always happened. If you have money, you can have multiple.
That's just.
But the way it's being worded is very offensive. But it's been happening for a long time.
To get back to the topic at hand, yes, I think the red cards, if we have the ability to put them out in the community, is something good. It's something I was talking about with my husband, like, because you can just pay. There's a bunch of on-demand print places where you can pay like 1,000 printed, and it's not expensive.
Yeah, because they're out of them.
Yeah, you
Run
can't
out
order
already.
them anymore.
Yeah,
They've already run out.
I looked into this a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "Look, usually you could get this from us, but we are overwhelmed. You can't get it. Here's you can download this. Here's where you can get it printed."
And I haven't seen any around Corvallis or around any of the other cities or Albany or anywhere.
I mean,
realistically, it's like, where would they be doing the most good and who do they need to get handed to? So that might just be like by virtue of where you shop or where you spend a lot of time. You're not somewhere that, you know, has heavy immigrant population, but it's
Well, this
definitely.
gathering would have been the perfect place, and maybe the community meal too, but where you said there were 70 or 80 Hispanic women fighting for their rights, and that would have been the great place to hand those out. But
Yeah. I had some issues with the way that the information was delivered, because it also promoted a lot of exalted feelings about it. And I think keeping it, you know, grounded and keep putting the information out there and rely on people also, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I really think that the feeling of just that they count only with their own community, I would like to work or bring the attention to this inclusivity committee to break that bubble, you know, because I'm sure that you know, a lot of people from the community are willing to help and protect and care for the Hispanic community, and I would like that to get around somehow.
I think we probably need to start by like asking asking Hispanic community members, like, what are you worried about right now and what would you like help with?
Yes.
Because like I will say, I'm coming at this from a slightly different perspective, but like I work in semiconductors and my field is 80-20 men to women, and a lot of the time it's men organizing events for women. Like what our needs are. The common complaint that I have heard when I have stepped in and tried to like help with these has been that they tend to get held at times that women don't have childcare. So it's like, I can't come because no one can take care of my kids. Like it's just basic stuff like this where it's like, oh, there's definitely a need and there's a want here, but because it's being organized by people from outside of the community, maybe not listening to input from like women or from Hispanic people, that we're not actually hitting like what is needed and how helpful is it really. So before we start like, here what all these things that we could do, maybe the first step is literally just finding out like, being like, hey, if you want to, we would like to hear from you. We want to know how can the community serve you. And I don't know if this is within the scope of the Inclusivity Committee, because I'm getting the feeling it's probably not, but like, we specifically recognize and value you as members of our community. We know that this is a very uncertain, kind of scary time to be in the US. We recognize that and we want to help if we can. What do you specifically need help with? I think some people it's just going to be a chance to come and talk and be like, I am scared, like, here's what I'm worried about. And some people might have specific needs, like the food piece, for instance. That's a good one. So asking people and seeing if you can meet them where they're at. But it has to be the ask first instead of the like,
You know what you need.
Trying to figure out like how to even reach people, right?
I wonder if connecting with Casa Latino Unidos
Absolutely.
able to kind of give us the tap into.
I was just gonna say, last year I was working with them and Anita Hollenborg. I don't know if you know her, but
I know the name.
she like volunteers. She's on the board of PCS, I think, and on the board of the chamber. But on kind of exactly that of like trying to have some sort of event or opportunity for like the Hispanic Latino community to more awareness and engagement. And then the director of Casa Latinos Unidos left, and then Anita, I think, like was visiting family, and so the effort kind of fizzled out. But just to say, let me maybe just pick up that thread again and see if it's still something she's interested in before we kind of reinvent the wheel.
It would be interesting to know PCS if they're involved with a large group of Hispanic community or not, because that is a great resource for them if they are.
The other
I
thing,
don't know if that
sorry,
the rules and I don't know.
yeah, the other, so slight tangent, which will bring me back around to the main point. Chief Gursky and I had a meeting with a group 2 Fridays ago, maybe, which I think now they're renaming themselves to, I think, just Defensa del Barrio, when they were just wanting to go through basically the same information we outlined in that letter. So I just wanted to update you all on that. And then one of the organizations that came up in that discussion was Strengthening Rural Families, because they do a lot of Spanish language programming.
Yep.
So I can go back and check on some of that too to see if there might be a plug-in there.
Yeah. My feeling is that the resources definitely exist.
Right.
And there are people that are connected as we are. So again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And like, I don't know, part of organizing and part of trying to do outreach is recognizing what is already being.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm wishing the scheduling had worked out differently this week because we had a Strengthening Rural Families board meeting yesterday. Now I'm here. Next time.
Next time. Okay,
Thank you for doing that.
yeah. So I'll talk to you about an update for that. To the agenda, we'll add the age-friendly communities process discussion to the agenda for next month, along with the approval of social media posts that we didn't get to today.
So that's for August, correct?
Yeah.
We have plenty of time. Good.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk about the AARP stuff right now, because we have.
It's 7. Or we can go till 7:30.
Push it off
We're
tomorrow.
supposed to go till 7, but
I'll
if
be
people
back.
want to stay a
Oh,
little
you-
longer, we can.
I'm gone most of March, but I should be back for this meeting, so. We just have big news, but.
Oh, well, share your.
No, you have.
No,
I mean-
no, share your big news.
Yeah, I think the news is great. It's just the discussion part that we.
I want the
really have time
news.
for.
Oh, so
Sorry,
now
I was trying to just,
No, it's fine.
Close this down.
Yeah, we met and we just met with the, city manager.
Yeah.
To find out the ways for us to go forward, but,
yeah.
So, in a real quick nutshell, we're looking at the document that I brought out back several months ago when we started talking about the AARP Age-Friendly Network. So, in looking at that 5-year plan, because it is a 5-year plan, we're not in the network yet, we've got paperwork lined up, but we have been sort of rethinking the plan. When you look at this process, it is a 5-year process. Our first year, we develop, we have to follow the AARP
guidelines and
yeah,
requirements.
the requirements was a survey, a community survey. You take the information from the survey and you develop your action plan within the second year. And then the 3rd through 5th year, you put the plan into action and document how it's working out and all of this. So in this 5-year plan, we're thinking that
We may not be here.
we may not be here for whatever reasons. We may not be here. I may not be here. That's how I'm looking at it lately. It's like this is a lot of work. Anyway, the other. But anyway, that being said, if in all of my researching lately in documents and things and listening to webinars and all of that information, we're a city who we feel is just getting off the ground. We're not like Paris and Barcelona and Philadelphia and all of these very big cities who are trying to figure out how to become age-friendly in the environments they're in. We are sort of in the starting grounds anyway. We don't have huge city blocks of housing and storefronts for miles and miles and streets. So we're on the ground floor anyway. We could, I'm sure, if we put our heads together, come up with ways to make our city age friendly without going to the AARP platform. that also being said, the AARP has yearly grants that are available, not connected to the network at all. It is a community grant programs. So deadlines for those are in March. So we've already missed 2025. All the grants are submitted and then they're reviewed, and then grants are picked from however you apply it. So there are other ways to start small projects and work through different tasks that would be considered age-friendly or 880 kind of networking without having to go the AARP definite route is where
We're suggesting we scrap the AARP and we still continue to work on a senior inclusivity, getting them involved in the community and helping wherever is necessary. And we've got some ideas that we're going to try to get done. But AARP is too structured and too demanding for what we want to do. And my term is for 4 years, and she's, I won't tell you what age she is, but she looks much younger. So, I mean, we just thought 5 years is an awful lot to,
It's a big commitment,
yeah.
and we are not as big as the community team
No,
outline.
that's
right, we're not.
I was confused by what you mean that we're not,
the training. She is listening
Terrorists.
to these webinars, and they're based all around the world. So when she mentions she saw one in Paris that was developed around that, and she's seen all these places. They're great. She spent hours and hours researching this, and she's done a great job.
Every other Tuesday, there's a webinar. So
Yeah.
I'm now booked in. So every other Tuesday, I'm
So
a
we can learn
webinar.
from them without having to follow their program.
And that's not to say that AARP is not a wealth of knowledge. I mean, we have booklets, and that's not to say that you can't use their ideas and kind of focus in on maybe different tasks might involve something like that. But anyway,
Sure.
that's what we're thinking. It's just that long term seems to be maybe a little bit too constrictive for us in our very small group.
Same goals, different approach.
Yes.
We want to be
Amen.
age friendly. We'll just
We have to
do it ourselves. We're
Yeah.
Philomath. We got
Exactly.
We
this.
don't have to be a part of
Using
the
these
program.
ideas,
Yeah.
we can go forward. And
Yes.
Innovative.
the first thing is to talk to the seniors and get their
Yes.
ideas. So that's where we're at right now. So, maybe in May we'll do that.
I love that.
As for discussion points, I don't know if we want to discuss potentially changing the meeting day, because we were talking about how Tuesdays, there are community meals and stuff, but it was just a pulse check of like, I don't know if this day is still working or not, but.
I would be open to changing it. Tuesday is pretty hard for me.
I'm not sure there's an easy day.
Well, yes. So I'm just bringing it up right now as
I will try to come whenever.
we want to talk about it.
I have meetings every day this week, so
Well, maybe think about it, and we'll add it to the agenda for next month. If there's a day that absolutely doesn't work, or if people really like Tuesdays, but yeah, there are some conflicts in town, or whatnot, so.
it's also just once a month too. So that's every Tuesday. Yeah, every month.
Well, you're in luck, because we're gonna do it every Tuesday. All right. If anyone has any ideas that pop up about items you want to add to the agenda between now and a couple weeks from now, feel free to email me, and I can get them added. Yeah, unless you can think of anything right now, I'll write it down, otherwise. Good?
Oh,
Yeah,
next meeting.
month.
That's what I meant.
Yes, yeah.